The waiter had already served dessert when everyone noticed the boy crying. Not quiet tears, the kind that shake a child's whole body. The millionaire CEO froze, forked midair, surrounded by wealth, power, and silence. Then a small voice from the next table broke everything. He doesn't need another toy, he only needs a sister. No one knew that whisper would change every life in the room forever. People said Daniel Royce had won at life. At 42, he was the CEO of a global tech empire, his name printed in business magazines, his face framed by skyscrapers he owned. That night, he sat in the most expensive restaurant in the city, crystal chandeliers above him, soft music floating through the air. Across the table sat his son, Leo, 8 years old, dressed in a tailored suit that cost more than most families' monthly rent, and Leo was crying. At first, Daniel thought it was exhaustion. Then maybe a tantrum. He leaned forward, lowering his voice, embarrassed by the curious glances from nearby tables. Leo, what's wrong? You didn't even touch your steak. You wanted this place. Leo shook his head, tears dropping onto the white tablecloth. I don't want the food, Dad. I don't want the games you promised. I don't want anything. Daniel felt irritation rise, followed by guilt. He had cancelled 3 meetings to take Leo out tonight, believing money and attention for a few hours could fix the distance between them. You have everything, Daniel said softly, trying to stay calm. Anything you ask for. Leo finally looked up. His eyes were red, hollow, far older than his years. That's the problem, he whispered. I have everything, but I'm always alone. The words hit harder than any accusation. Daniel remembered the empty mansion, the silent hallways, the nannies rotating every few months, the birthdays celebrated with gifts instead of people. Leo's mother had passed away years ago, and since then, Daniel had buried himself in work, convincing himself that success was love. At the next table sat a woman and a little girl. Their clothes were simple, their meal modest. The girl couldn't have been more than 7. She watched Leo quietly, her eyes full of concern rather than curiosity. As the sobs grew louder, the restaurant manager began to approach, clearly uncomfortable. Before anyone could stop her, the little girl slipped down from her chair, walked over, and gently tugged Leo's sleeve. She leaned close, barely loud enough to be heard. He doesn't need another toy, she said. He only needs a sister. The world seemed to pause. Daniel stared at the child, stunned. What did you say? The girl looked up at him without fear. My brother used to cry like that. Then my mom adopted me. Now he never eats alone. The girl's mother rushed over, apologizing, pulling her back, embarrassed. But the damage, or miracle, was already done. Leo stopped crying. He stared at the girl like she had just handed him something priceless. That night, long after the plates were cleared and the restaurant emptied, Daniel lay awake. For the first time in years, numbers and deals didn't fill his mind. One thought echoed over and over: what if love isn't something you buy, but something you build? The next morning, Daniel took Leo to school himself. No driver. No phone calls. Just silence and questions. Dad, Leo said quietly as they stopped at a red light, do you think families can choose each other? Daniel didn't answer right away. He didn't know how. That week, Daniel did something that shocked his entire company. He took a leave of absence. He began volunteering at community centers, orphanages, places he had donated to but never visited. Leo came with him. They met children with stories heavier than their small shoulders should ever carry. One afternoon, they recognized a familiar voice. It was the little girl from the restaurant. Her name was Maya. She lived with her mother in a small apartment and spent her afternoons helping younger kids with homework. Leo and Maya talked like they'd known each other forever, about cartoons, fears, dreams, and what it felt like to eat dinner alone. Daniel watched them, something breaking and healing inside him at the same time. The process wasn't easy. Paperwork, doubts, sleepless nights. Daniel questioned his motives. Was he trying to fix Leo, or himself? But every time he hesitated, he remembered Leo's tears on that white tablecloth. Months later, on a quiet evening, the mansion lights were warm for the first time. Laughter echoed through halls once empty. Leo sat on the floor building blocks with Maya, now officially his sister. They argued, laughed, shared snacks, and made messes no amount of money could clean. At dinner, Leo looked up at Daniel, smiling wide. Dad, he said, this is my favorite meal ever. Daniel glanced around the table. No chandeliers. No fine china. Just family. He finally understood the truth the little girl had whispered that night: wealth can fill a house, but only love fills a home. Final message for viewers: sometimes the thing we're missing isn't more success, more money, or more control, it's connection. And the smallest voice can carry the biggest lesson, if we're brave enough to listen.